Hi everyone! In this video I want to talk about art boundaries on the internet and if some of them might be too much. I am a big art drama video enjoyer and have been for a long time. These videos tackle a lot of very serious situations that we can all learn from, but a good chunk of these situations are far less serious in the grand scheme of things. What I mean is when one artist accuses another artist of copying them based on shaky evidence. Before I fully get into this, I want to give the usual disclaimer. Everything I say here is just my opinion, aside from outside opinions I asked for. If you disagree with me, that is completely fine. This topic is very subjective, so let's just be respectful. So, art boundaries. All artists are allowed to have boundaries when it comes to their work. They are different for every person and it's very important to respect them. But I do feel like sometimes those boundaries can go a little too far. I'm specifically talking about artists not wanting other people to reference their art at all. I have seen this so many times. Literally in these last few months, I saw two artists with a decent following call out underage artists with a small following for copying them. Both artists pretty much stalked the minors for a very long time, screenshotting their works and obsessively comparing them to theirs, compiling it into Google Docs, instead of, blocking them a long time ago and moving on. Both of the artists were adults as well.
If I had a nickel for every time I was doomed by a puppet, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
I'm sorry, but this is just embarrassing. Don't get me wrong, you are allowed to feel uncomfortable when someone takes heavy inspiration from you, but there's so many better ways to go about it. Contact the artist, block them and move on, or just ignore them. I can't imagine spending my time obsessively checking that person's accounts, screenshotting their stuff, circling over every possible similarity to my art, and then making a call-out post on them instead. I get that context is important. There are people who reference others on purpose to get on their nerves or to draw the same way as them, but in most cases, it is simply just referencing. Referencing is unavoidable for artists. It's pretty much impossible to develop your skill and style without referencing. Not to mention that it's usually done out of love for the art. When people ask me how to develop your own art style, my first advice is looking at other artists. That's how I started. I would redraw images of cartoons I liked, then moved on to redrawing works of Instagram artists I liked. Later, I took inspiration from my artist friend, and to this day, I frequently borrow coloring techniques or style elements from other artists. That's what helps me expand my style. It is normal to, in a way, copy others, especially when you're still learning, but I do think it's important to be respectful of artists you are taking inspiration from. It's good to ask them first if they would be okay with you doing that, and to credit them if the inspiration is very heavy and noticeable. If you haven't done that first, and the artist contacts you about it, be honest and understanding. So I also made a community post asking you guys for your opinions on this topic, and I will sprinkle them in throughout this video. This comment worded this very well. I don't post my art, but I'd be hypocritical if I judged someone for that. I often take bits from styles I like to build my own, and honestly I think that's just how being an artist works. However, there is inherent talent it takes to create a distinct style for yourself, and if one were to directly copy it to the point it is an imitation, I can understand why an artist may be uncomfortable. Although most squabbles I've seen that have to do with, quote, stealing an art style is simply someone taking inspo or just doing the same thing coincidentally. It is very true that it would be very hypocritical to judge someone for referencing you when you very likely have referenced someone else too. And the last part is very true as well. A lot of these call-outs and dramas really just crumble when you really look into it. Circling back to those two situations I mentioned previously, in one of them, the first quote copied piece was literally a redraw of official art from a game. Both artists took the same image, redrew it in their styles, and the bigger artist just assumed that the other copied them. In their callout, they even circled certain elements that were copied from them, when in reality it was on the reference they both used. The other copies were literally just a race band character that plenty of people have drawn, or vaguely similar themes or poses. Do you have no shame? The other situation was a little different. The evidence was still very shaky and at times straight up petty, but to be fair, the smaller artist was purposefully referencing the bigger artist a lot, and I get how that could get annoying or uncomfortable. This opinion was pretty much universal on my post, like this comment put it. I wouldn't mind the first time, but if they keep always trying to take inspiration from my style/poses, then I'd feel uncomfortable. And I think that's perfectly valid. Again, context is important here, but like I said, there's better ways to go about it than keeping tabs on that person for years, screenshotting their art, comparing it to yours constantly, and then making a huge document out of it. That's just unhealthy, for one, not to mention that the bigger artist has a much bigger following than the small one. By that I mean hundreds of thousands versus hundreds of subscribers. And on top of all that, one of them is a grown adult and the other is a minor. I understand feeling uncomfortable if someone is clearly referencing and taking inspiration from you this much. Personally, I wouldn't really care, but I get why someone else would. But when you have a bigger following, you just have to be more careful. The way the internet is today, people are very quick to go and leave mean comments or straight up harass someone on behalf of a creator they like. While yeah, I get that as a creator you can't control everyone, and if they want to go and be mean, they will go and do it, it's still important to be careful and mindful of how you go about these things. Big callouts, in my opinion, shouldn't be done over something like this. If they try to impersonate someone or profit off of it, sure, it's good to spread awareness so other people don't fall for it. But most of these situations are just petty or simple miscommunication, or they sprinkle this in among far more serious accusations. Like, I'm sorry, but if that person did something horrible or literally committed a crime, I do not care that they copied your OC. Speaking of which, another thing I see a lot is OC theft. Maybe the designs look really similar, or their stories are similar. I've even seen people claim name theft. Here this also heavily depends on the context, like these comments put it. I feel the only time that it would be an issue is if the entire design was used and not just used as inspiration, i.e. if it's literally just your design but the colors are completely different. I feel like that's when taking inspiration from a source gets too close and that it wouldn't be inspiration in the eyes of art. The lines get tangled a lot when inspiration goes from just inspiration to getting too lost into it that the designs become almost too exactly identical. I've been drawing for a long time, and I really don't mind when people take inspiration from my art. It's mostly a whole different story when someone takes inspiration from an OC. I have this OC named Maria. My friend once took this OC and made his own OC, which was cool, but they looked exactly like my OC but with different colors and different abilities. At the time, I was angry because I didn't understand why he could do that, but now that I've grown, it's because he took inspiration. I feel like with OCs, it's much easier to be uncomfortable since often OCs are much more personal to artists than just their style by itself. But once again, context is important. I've seen many situations where two artists are friends, they take inspiration from each other throughout the friendship, then when they have a falling out, suddenly it's theft and not okay. It's also important to understand if a character was copied. or if two people just had similar ideas. I'm sorry, but a lot of characters simply aren't creative enough, where if someone else makes a similar one, it can only be stolen. For example, a lot of my characters are just normal looking people design wise, and it would be ridiculous for me to accuse someone of copying me. Oh, your character is a tall guy with black hair, black eyes, one mole on the face, thick eyebrows. He happens to be named Oliver and he's nice? How dare you copy me? Like that's just stupid. And once again, it's normal to take inspiration from other people. That goes for character design as well. I'll use myself as an example again. I've made multiple videos of me redesigning my middle school OCs. A good 80% of them are literally just people I saw on Instagram or Pinterest and decided to make them my characters. Same with their names. A lot of them are mashed from celebrities or fictional characters I liked. I wasn't good at designing my own characters, and I'm still not that great at naming them, but that's why I revisited them years later and updated them because I've improved since then. That's part of the process. Simple as that. Even if someone did specifically reference my characters to create their own, again, a lot of my designs simply just aren't unique enough to call it out or gatekeep it. I often reference or borrow elements from other artists for my designs as well. Maybe the way someone drew hair fits one of my characters really well, so I copy it in a way to see if it works for me. Or I take a personality trait from someone else's OC that can really fit one of my characters to spice them up. For example, my character Tyler. They used to be a quiet, blunt background character, simple as that. I liked the design, but it quickly got boring for me to draw them since it was always the same expression, same hair, similar outfit. So one day I went on Pinterest to find some inspo and maybe redesign Tyler. From there I decided to make them drastically change their appearance all the time as part of their character. It was based on all the different artworks I saw of alternative characters I thought fit Tyler really well. I couldn't choose just one design, and now I enjoy drawing them so much more, and I'm sure a lot of people out there have done the same with their characters. I did not invent this, and even if someone does do this specifically inspired by me, I would be completely fine with that. I would be flattered, if anything. Nothing is original. No design, no style, no pose, no composition, no story. All of it is made of different references and inspirations. Like this comment says, nothing is original. Nothing will ever be original. There will always be someone out there who did the same thing but didn't upload it, or they drew it a long time ago. There is no original composition. There truly is nothing original. Why? Because look at us. We're humans. Someone else either thought of the idea before you, or two or more people think about the same idea. It's really about who did it first. Heck, even Disney isn't original. So is Marvel and DC. So the basic summary is, nothing is original. Feel free to steal or take ideas. The best way for you to improve is to reference others, to try out new things. If you just stay in your own little bubble, away from media or other artists, it's gonna be extremely hard to improve in any meaningful way. On the other hand, if you decide to share your art online, I feel like you should be ready that someone out there might reference it. I can understand being protective of your work, especially nowadays. AI is being more and more normalized with each passing day. More and more people repost or trace someone else's works to claim them as their own. A lot of social medias don't promote art as well as they used to. I get that. Most, if not all, artists want to stand out, be recognized for their craft, and it can sting when someone tries to imitate your style that you put time into developing. But in my opinion, your style isn't just your style of drawing, it's what you draw, what color choices you tend to make, what aesthetic or aesthetics you gravitate towards, the running themes in your pieces, what media you like to draw, what kind of characters and stories you make, what programs or materials you use. All of these little things come together into your art style. An artist might not necessarily be recognized by how they stylize their characters or the way they draw faces, but by their coloring, composition, or subject matter. I also understand that the examples I use are the better options. Just a beginner artist studying an established artist they like to learn, not meaning any harm. But there are people that do mean harm, that copy other people on purpose to profit, or to impersonate them, or to simply mess with them. I'm not gonna deny that, and I agree that can get really annoying and uncomfortable. Over time, it can build up to where the artist just doesn't want anyone to reference their art ever. And while I can understand the frustration, I think completely gatekeeping your work from others, especially on the internet, is not the way to go. When I first started posting my art and getting more followers, I also felt really protective of my work. I would always ask for credit, even if the inspiration was small. When someone traced me, I would get really upset and keep trying to convince them to take it down, even if the post had like 2 likes. I would get stressed out over it, rant about it on my Instagram. A few times I even directly showed the names of the people involved. Looking back on it now, I do regret it a lot. I wasn't rude about it or anything though. I would always be as polite as possible, at least at first. And if any of my followers went to these posts, they would be polite as well. I am very grateful for that and I hope that it stays that way. But it was definitely overkill on my end. Now I'm a lot more chill about this. I still don't really like it when someone traces my art, but I haven't come across it in a very long time. I am completely fine with referencing, taking inspiration, even studying my style if you want. If the inspiration is heavy, credit will be appreciated, but at this point I don't really care that much, to be honest. It might be that my brain is more developed now, so I see this differently, or that I'm more used to being on the internet, or both, I'm not sure. I just know that to me it's not that serious anymore, and I would very much rather just focus on my craft. I want to do something I enjoy, have fun with it, get better at it, and hopefully help others through that. If you as a viewer come across someone tracing or heavily referencing me, don't be rude on my behalf. Everyone starts somewhere, and it's important not to discourage someone when they try to learn. We need more real artists in this world, human artists. I would be glad if I inspire someone to do what they like to do. I will gladly make tutorials or share tips I've learned over the years, anything to make someone's art journey even a little bit easier. To wrap this up, I will read out this comment. This person worded this so well, I couldn't have said it better. I feel as though we're in an era where everyone feels very defensive and almost protective of their own work, that they forget that an essential part of art is a community and the exchanges that come with it. We should be taking inspiration from those we admire or wish to aspire to be. I understand it can come across to some as copying, but genuinely I feel like most people can put on a thinking cap and see someone doing a similar pose, non-traced. It's not the same as someone outright just drawing your OC and claiming it as their own. I understand some artists also hate it when people draw in their art style, as most of the time these artists work hard to refine the style and get it to a place they're satisfied. But why wouldn't you be happy that someone sees your style you worked hard on and want to draw in a similar way? You're the modern day painters that hang in museums. Your style and your work is being remembered and loved by many others. You're an inspiration to someone who wants nothing more than to get better themselves. Art is a community-heavy field, and I think it's about time we get less competitive and start opening our doors to one another. The job field for our line of work is already competitive enough. let's not bring it into our personal spaces too. I think this is a good place to wrap this up. In conclusion, it is great to have boundaries when it comes to your art, protect yourself, but I think that being super protective when it comes to people referencing and taking inspiration from you on the internet is a bit counterproductive. If it does make you uncomfortable, block and move on, focus on what you enjoy. It's so much more healthy and peaceful. Don't be scared to try out new things, to take inspiration from others while staying respectful. It is completely normal, especially when you first get into art. Don't rush yourself to be completely unique and original as fast as possible. Stuff like this takes time, patience, and practice, not to mention that nothing is completely original anyway. Thank you to everyone that shared their thoughts on my post. It really helped me in the scripting process. I couldn't include all of them. Honestly, pretty much everyone shared the same opinions as I did on the subject, which I think is really neat. It's been a while since my last rant video, and it's mostly because no art-related topic has interested me enough to make a whole video on it. But recently I've been seeing a lot of copying drama, and it really got me thinking. Anyway, this is all from me for now. If I missed anything or you disagree with me on some points, feel free to express that in the comments. I like to have discussions under these type of videos. Just be respectful. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. Check out my other socials. They will be on the screen and in the description. Stay safe, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!